We live, gentlemen.
Morning.
Just letting.
Morning,
So the
morning. What it do?
hey man, we're back in the saddle, man. Another great day, great sports day. Sports weekend. There's still college football today. So that's
Hmm.
great. College football's going on today. There'll be some games on, and then of course we had game Thursday night and Saturday, and so we're just gonna make it happen here on Triple Option. You got Coy in the building,
What up? What
Brooks
up?
to
What up?
show. What up? What up, Coy? We got Brooks to showcase,
What's going on?
and then Mr. 411. We all in here, and you never know. We may have some more people jump in, but for now it's Triple Option. Let's get the party started, gentlemen.
Do it.
Put.
All right, the intro was brought to you by Music by J Tones. Music by J Tones at gmail.com. Check out Terrence Jones. If you need any type of music arrangement, he can get it done for you. Music by J Tones at gmail.com. Gentlemen, man, what a day. And let's start off with the Georgia Clemson game, guys. We're gonna jump right into this thing. Georgia manhandles Clemson. Brooks, I know that you have a personal interest in that, and Corey, you're familiar with this as well, and the proximity of the teams and everything. But again, to start off the season, there was a couple people that thought that Clemson would cover, but man, it did not happen. It wasn't even close. So, what do you guys take on the Georgia Clemson? Uh, it doesn't matter. Somebody can take it first.
When you got a coach that's high and mighty that doesn't is not willing to deal with the times at hand, you're gonna have problems. Um, I don't know how Brooks feel about it, but I think Clemson had a run, but I don't. It's starting to look like it's less about the coach, and he got a run of generational talent at quarterback and defensive players. And you know what I'm saying? He had a streak where he had a bunch of generational talent come through that school,
Yeah,
and those what 5 6 years run they had was due to going from one quarterback to another quarterback to basically a front. He had about a 3 year span where I want to say out of the probably 12 13 kids that was on the front seven, nine of them was going to the league, and probably six of them were drafted in the first round. So, and Dabble is all about no NIL deals, and if you want to play for me, your education is this and that. And, you know, so either he's going to adjust or he's going to get gone. He'll go down as probably the greatest Clemson coach ever, but you know he's going to
yeah. I
adjust or get
mean,
gone.
yeah, and it looks like if you look at it thus far, it just seems like there was just a great disparity of talent on the field. Um, I think Georgia recruits a lot better than Clemson. So it's not only just the NIL, but you add the top on top of that that Georgia recruits at the high school level a lot better as well. It was he pretty much showed up on the field here because then
Well,
Georgia didn't have their starting running back. Is that correct as well, gentlemen?
yeah, but the thing about it, Clemson's always been able to come into Georgia and recruit,
Yeah.
and mm, that's not happening
Yep. Brooks, what was your take from the game?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this before. One of the defining features of the Kirby Smart era is second half adjustments. I feel like there's a lot of games that come to mind that were close in the first half. You think about maybe the South Carolina game last year, for example. A lot of games that are close in the first half, and then you look at the final score, and it's a blowout. He's done this time in and time out. He is a master at making adjustments. Um, kind of sloppy start. Both teams trying to kind of figure it out. What Georgia figured out is that Nate Frazier is a really good running back, and you should put him on the field. I like Branson Robinson. He's still coming back from injury. He just looked timid. He wasn't hitting the hole hard. And you put this freshman in it. Oh my God, he was amazing. His quickness, his cuts, just the combination of size and speed that he has is unbelievable. It looks like he's going to be the next great running back for Georgia. As far as Clemson goes, I mean, another thing that Georgia kind of needs to get back to. They kind of lost their way a little bit defensively last year as far as stopping the run. But this was kind of your basic Georgia game where you can't run the ball on them. They make you one dimensional. Clemson had a little success picking on our corners, throwing deep, but that's really all they had. I mean, they only passed for 142. They only rushed for 47. We completely shut down their offense. So I mean that was a story of the game to me. It was Nate Frazier. We know what Carson Beck is. I mean, and he was accurate. He was calm in the pocket. All things we come to expect Carson Beck. He's still that guy. He was still great. But I mean, my takeaway was Nate Frazier. I mean, good Lord, he was impressive. And I mean, it doesn't. I mean, I'm sure Travis. I'm sure ETN was on the sidelines like, I get suspended for this game, and this guy, this guy might take my spot
Yeah.
because man, he's that good. Um, but yeah, just dominant performance by Georgia in the second half, and 40 straight regular season wins for this team. I mean, just that's unbelievable. They haven't lost regular season games since 2022 to Florida.
there.
Just crazy run they've gone on in the regular season, and they clearly show they're one of the best teams in the nation. That was just a drumming. We'll see how Clemson rebounds. Florida State already has a loss. I mean, Clemson. I mean, starting off, these two teams starting off the season together. We'll see. We'll see how Clemson rebounds. I'm sure. They'll rebound. I'm sure they'll have something to say in the ACC.
Yeah, I agree. And
So
Georgia, Florida
Yep.
State loss was in conference. Conference was just a rivalry game.
Yeah, and it was against a team that's pretty much number one in the country too. So that leads me to this though. If you look at it, like just look at the dominance right here, Georgia. Look at the point disparity over the last two matchups there against Florida State and Clemson. And it's like there's just no match there for the top of the ACC against the top of the SEC. And that you guys already touched on it. You said let's wait and see how Clemson turns out. They should bounce back. At the same time, what about Florida State? Do you think that Florida State uh, will bounce back as well?
I mean, I'm sure they're going to be competitive in their conference. I mean, that the ACC is like a crapshoot. Anybody um, that think they're going to predict the divisional winners or whatever in that conference, good. Because it's liable to go anywhere from Florida State, Miami, or well, it could be Georgia Tech or Florida State. I've seen a year where they had guys from Winston Salem. Uh, you know,
Who? The Wake
Wake
Forest?
Forest. Yeah, Wake
Yeah,
Forest has been in the championship. It's no telling what's going to go into that conference. I'm just being
yeah,
honest. Other
Yeah.
thing, just going back to Georgia and their defense. I think his name is Starks, the DB I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Malachi Starks.
he's one of them dudes.
Yeah, that was a crazy interception he had.
That pick
Um,
was he's gonna be one of them dudes. So
Absolutely. We
besides,
want to.
if he sticks around another year, but I got a feeling he's gonna be a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
for sure.
And we want to welcome Cole from the Low. Cole from the Low joins us. And hopefully he'll be able to give us some insight on that Georgia Tech Georgia State game. Because that kind of ties back to him as well. But check out Cole from the Low on YouTube as well. You might even catch the simulcast on Cole from the Low right now on this show. But check out Cole from the Low. He's doing great things out there on all social media platforms. Cole from the Low. Cole, we were just talking about the Georgia Clemson game, which was in Atlanta, where you are currently. And we got everybody's take on that. Do you think the dogs are for real, and where do you think Clemson falls?
Uh, Morning, fellas.
Morning,
Sorry for
morning.
being late.
Oh, you good?
Starting off with Georgia. Mr. Brooks, what's up, man? How you doing?
What up? What up?
Hey, your boys are not number one team. I'm gonna go ahead and say that now. They're not number one team. Now, do I think Georgia's a top four, top five team? Yes. They out of everybody, they was the ones to play the number 14 team in Clemson. Uh Clemson did not look like a top 10 team, which I probably in 14. But the big thing about Georgia, when I think they're gonna go against the other SEC opponents, the other top five teams, when they gotta play a team like Ohio State, teams of that caliber, their defense will get exposed. And when we talk about the defense, I'm talking about that secondary. Their D line looks good. Michael Williams, straight out of Columbia, Georgia, they look good. The linebackers, they look okay. DBs, corners wise, other than Malachi Starks, is some holes in that when it comes to that pass offense, when it comes to zone coverage, man coverage. When you go against a great caliber of offense, there's gonna be, excuse me, there's gonna be struggles right there. Offense wise, Carson Beck did look great. He looked like he could be in a Heisman candidate the way he was passing the ball. He didn't focus on one person. He was distributing the ball very well, and he was getting it off under pressure. And he also got a couple rushing yards. So Carson Beck did look good. He did like a Heisman candidate quarterback on that display against Clemson. But just for Georgia as a total, I said this last year too. They
You
don't
say
like.
it every year.
Hey, this is unbiased. Georgia just don't like a number one team. When I look at number one team, do you dominate? Do you from start to finish? The biggest thing that I don't like about Georgia is they only lock in for the second half of the game. The first half, even last year, it was a lot of struggles, or they just teams that they're supposed to block the water quickly. Why are you like 0-0 going to the halftime? Or second quarter, it's 0-7. I would never understand that. Take care of your number one team. Take care of your business from start to finish. Alabama against an unranked team. Took care of their business start to finish. Blew them out.
Knew it
Ole
was
Miss,
coming.
like that. You gotta take care of business from start to finish. You don't wait till
Knew
the
it was coming. Brooke, you did know that was coming, right?
I mean, I can't argue. I mean, the secondary definitely was a little shaky yesterday. They had good coverage, but their ball skills just weren't there. They couldn't turn they didn't turn their head around. Besides that one play Malachi Starks made. So I mean, I was totally, like I said in my season preview, I mentioned the secondary. I mean, they got a bunch of guys, but I'm not sure they know who their main corners are. So definitely agree with you there. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a thing about the Kirby Smart era. They go into a lot of half times in close games, and they come out on the other end in the second half with a blowout win. They make. I don't know if you want to call that not playing a complete game or just making halftime adjustments. However you want to call it. I mean, that's definitely
A lot
true. I
of
mean,
times, to me,
that happens a lot in this era.
It's a halftime adjustment when you're playing a team against Ohio State, Texas, Alabama. Cool. if you're playing a team like Clemson and anybody below that, there's no halftime adjustment. Why are we struggling against you?
Now, I want to throw this in though. Now, Clemson was ranked 14th in the nation,
Yeah,
And
and Florida
and
State,
in the Power Four
Kobe.
conference.
cool. And Florida State was ranked number 10 and lost to an unranked Georgia Tech team. That doesn't mean nothing. You're not a top 10. You explains a lot right there. Then
Okay, but also I will say this: as far as Clemson doesn't have the talent pool it has had in the last few years, but it still got a decent enough talent. They got some players there, so let's not make
Cool.
it seem like
Georgia's ranked number 1 with the most talented people in college. I don't want to hear it.
I'm just saying. Well, how big what's the playoffs this year?
12.
So that means they're saying theoretically 12 teams.
Okay, and guess what? They're not in them 12 teams. They're really 14. So that shows a lot right in there. You're struggling against a non-playoff team. That's even worse.
All right. Well, we know how Coach feels about it. Brooks. Brooks is gonna looks like Brooks, is gonna stick with his team and say that they're adjusting. But he did say in the preseason preview that there were some chinks in the armor that he wants to see fixed, tightened up. But man, it's gonna be interesting. I'm just gonna throw this out there.
You know what? You want to know what Georgia really reminds me of right now?
What's that?
The early 2000s Bama teams. Before the train really got going, when it first started revving up, you play defense, you play ball the first half, and then all of a sudden your will and intent just seems to beats the other, just starts pushing, just coming downhill on the team. It's almost similar to Brooke. Remember this? I'm sure he loves this game. Alabama, Georgia, SEC championship. Ed Lacy, that 2nd half. That's what it really reminds me of. That's Georgia's identity being now. No, I don't think the program is quite where it should be or going to be, but they got that one thing that I always respect. They keep coming, and if you don't do anything about that rock coming down the hill, eventually it's gonna bust. It's gonna start busting open.
Yeah, I agree. There's a physicality to this team and that also could attribute to why they're so good in the second half. They wear people down with their physicality, especially on the offensive and defensive lines. They control the line of scrimmage. That's definitely kind of that early Bama 2000s Bama that obviously Kirby Smart being a Saban disciple, he's definitely modeling that around from what took place there. So,
yeah. Okay, gentlemen. Well, the number 2 ranked team in the nation, number 3, 2 Ohio State, 3 Oregon, 4 Texas, 5 Alabama, 6 Ole Miss, and they all took care of business and wiped out their opponents. You had something to say there, Cole?
Did we give thoughts on Clemson?
Oh, you can before we go to the Notre Dame Texas A&M game.
Clemson. Now, okay, I know Davos 20 is receiving a lot of hate and stuff, and Clemson talking about trying to change their ways, get into the transfer portal, believe in NIL. I will say this: as much as I just said Clemson was the number 14 team and Georgia should have just took care of business for a half, Clemson was handling business. I understand at the end they did. We got to put it in perspective. They lost to the number 1 team. Also, we got to put in perspective. For a half, they hung in there where it was like 0-0, 0-3.
Dude, Kobe, we don't do moral victories around here.
There was a time in the first half where Clemson could have made some noise. I thought they had some really dumb penalties, some illegal shifts, some illegal formations that took away their big plays, and so they had a chance in the first half to make it more competitive, and I thought they blew it.
All right, bash Clemson now.
But let me ask you a question. Historically, Brooks, isn't that Clemson? Stupid penalties. Formation penalties, procedure.
Yeah, really simple stuff like 2 receivers off the line,
right?
2 receivers off the line. Come on, that's.
I can't help.
And that's now wiped away a big play.
And that goes back to
that's but that's always
That goes to my
been a
statement. They're
trait
making
under
stupid
Clemson.
penalties and they're still in the ball game with Georgia. That goes back to my statement.
They got how many points hung on them?
It doesn't matter. That's what more respect to Georgia than it is to Clemson.
Nah.
Well,
I
we're
mean,
going.
I thought the slow start to me was a lot to do with the running game with Georgia. I think they were trying to give Branson Robinson some carries, and that just was not happening. And once
Hey,
they figured out,
Georgia
hey,
is
let's put this
good.
Nate Frazier guy in, their offense was humming. I mean, it just. This is the first game of the season. I thought it took a little bit, especially on the offensive side, to get going. But you could see it. I could see. Going into half 6-0. I could see. I was like, this team's about to put up some touchdowns. They were starting to find their rhythm. So
Y'all need Trevor Etienne back. He needs to get his head in the game. Sorry, let's talk to him.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Jim, let's switch to another SEC team, and that's Texas A&M. They played Notre Dame, and this was a pretty good game here. Notre Dame with the victory. So what do you guys take on that? Let's start with you, Brooks.
oh man, how many times are we gonna go into the season hyping this Texas A&M team up just for them to let us down again? It's every season. Yeah, they got some talent. What have they not had the past few years? A quarterback. They still don't have a quarterback. They have talent, and I like to hire. Like, I'm not a big Jimbo Fisher fan. I'm glad he had to go, but it's the same old story with this team. There's talent, there's hype, but you don't get the results. You don't get the W's. I mean, I wasn't surprised. I thought Notre Dame was going to win going in this game because Texas A&M hadn't proven nothing. That 20 is just reputation or some kind of perceived reputation from them. They do have some talent, but I mean, it's the same old story with this Texas A&M team.
But
Talent
my thing
without
about
the W's, without the results.
my thing about it is people got this perception of Texas A&M, but they always seem like a second tier. Uh, they always seem like they're always this team that's on the cusp and is full of disappointment. Ever since I've been watching them as a kid, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
I mean,
I don't
because
want to hear
probably
about
because
that 12th
they're
man stuff,
yeah.
all that other crap. At some point, there has to be a breakthrough. I still go back to them getting rid of Kevin Sumlin was a bad idea, but hey,
Yeah, I mean, they
And,
threw for they threw for only 100 yards and got 198 hung on the ground. I mean, come
yeah.
on. I mean, and again, it goes back there. I mean, their quarterback play has just been abysmal for the past few seasons. I mean, and they're going to get anywhere if they don't figure that out. And it doesn't look like they have an answer in Connor Weidman either. So
Yeah, but two interceptions as well. To add the salt to the
he
wound.
averaged,
Uh,
he averaged
two
3.3
INTs.
yards.
Yeah, yeah, that's not gonna get it done. I think what
Oh
Texas
man,
A&M, that it's because you hear Texas. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you associate that with great football, and again it's a huge school. And it's well known and everything, and there's money there in that state. But it just seems like they're going to be second tier. You know what I'm saying, to whoever, to Texas Longhorns, if you will, and then whatever
yeah.
else split amongst the other schools out there. So
you know
it's
what
just what it
somebody
is.
told me? You know
What's
what
that?
somebody told me a long time ago? At the end of the day, you need to go visit College Station, and you'll understand why Texas A&M is always going to be Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
No matter how great your team is, sometimes it's just a dump. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
well, switching back to Notre Dame, how, do you think this was a impressive victory for Notre Dame? Do you think Notre Dame's going to be the Notre Dame that it's been over the last few seasons, or what? What should people take from Notre Dame?
It's a
I got some
noteworthy
more people
win,
this season.
but we're gonna find out because Notre Dame always has a couple games on this. Get their rivalry games will tell you everything. Well, who is it? They always play what Michigan and they got to play SC, right?
Right.
And that's what we'll find out what Notre Dame is. They'll bounce around. They'll bounce around the Big Ten or Big 12, whatever they call themselves, and play. Cause it's the Notre Dame to me is like, why don't you just join the damn conference? You know, because that's pretty much where they hang out at. They every once in a while they'll go play a SEC non-rival or not out of conference, out of Big Ten 12 game, and then they'll go play USC every year. Maybe jump down to Georgia Tech. You know that peer group they play, Stanford or whatever. But for the most part, join that conference and prove to me that you can win that conference. Other than that, I don't. Notre Dame is Notre Dame.
This is a good win for them because their schedule is pretty manageable. They got a bunch of pretty winnable games all the way to maybe the Georgia Tech game looks a little more interesting now. But they don't play another ranked opponent you know, until November when they play Florida State. And like I said, maybe that Georgia Tech game is a lot more interesting than it looked a week ago. So we'll see. But I like the kid I think he transferred from Duke, Riley Leonard. I think he's a good quarterback. This Notre Dame team has a blueprint. They're going to be physical. They're going to run the ball, and they ran for 198 yards. So I mean that's what you wanted to see from them. We'll see if they can
defense. And they will.
I think they have a good quarterback. Let's see if they can get that passing game going a little bit more. He was only 18 of 30 for 158 yards, so they definitely didn't get the passing game going. But I do think, I watched him a little bit last year. I do like him. So, but when you run for 198, I mean, that's Notre Dame football.
Yeah, that's Midwest football there. Run the ball. Cole, you had something there about Notre Dame? Thoughts on them?
I just gotta see more from them out the season to say are they real contenders. They're currently ranked number 7. Like Calvin said, they can play defense. I do want to see more from the quarterback, but my thoughts on them would just improve as the season goes for them.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens with the Fighting Irish, and we're gonna move forward here. Let's talk about us. Well, we're gonna move forward, but we're going backwards, and you'll get what I'm saying here in just a minute. Colorado on Thursday night. There was a 5-point victory over the FCS opponent, uh, North Dakota State. And North Dakota State has a history of winning national championships at the FCS level. But they did go into Boulder, and it was a tough matchup there. Got to get you guys' take on this. Colorado 31, North Dakota State 26. Is this the same blueprint from last season? Are we rewatching the movie in Colorado?
We're watching the movie, and I will start this one off. Colorado is not a playoff team and it's not a championship team. That line is still looking like the same line, just copy and pasted in a different font from last year. Now, Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter, they're them guys. they one-on-ones. They're them. And when you go out there and you have 7 catches, 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards, Shador, I think he had like 6 incomplete passes and threw for over 300 yards. 7 catches, 3 touchdowns, 130 yards. I just think that Colorado as a whole is not a championship team until they get their offensive line together, until they get their defensive line together. I think the first sack from Colorado didn't come till, I want to say, the 3rd game. They was getting abused in the run game for a little. Not 3rd game, 3rd quarter. It was getting abused in the run game a little bit. Shador, he looked very poised in that pocket. He looked very much improved from last year. My biggest critique on him was when it's time for to run the ball, will he run the ball? Will he get out of the pocket? Can he start patting the baby way too long and get the ball out his hands? And this year in that game, he was doing way better. He was getting beat up, but the ball was out. He was making plays. He extended plays. He ran for a touchdown. That's what I wanted to see out of Shador. But Colorado as a whole, I'm not convinced. But do I think that Shador and Travis are Heisman candidates, and can they go top 10, top 5 in NFL draft? Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll go around the horn here. Who's next?
You want to know or you want me to take it, Brooks?
Go ahead, Corey.
All right, here's my thing. The defensive line, they looked a little bit more. They look better, but they still very spongy. Meaning they're not. So I will say it looks like Sapp's got the right intention built in the team, but he doesn't have the right personnel or the mindset hasn't fully stuck in because like Kobe said, apparently, if you just if you push it down their throat, eventually they're gonna break down. But they look a little bit better than the first game of last year. Uh, Offensive line, I still stand on this. You can't build offensive lines through transfers. You need offensive line to really get an offensive line running. You have to recruit these kids, get them in your program, and it normally takes 2 to 3 years to get it started flowing. To start when you get exchanged the parts. And I think me and Kobe had a conversation last week. Dion at Colorado would have if he was there 6 years earlier, we might see a different product, but he's not. And I always say the NILs and the transfer portal hurt and helps him. And that yes, he can get the skill guys, he can get the flash, but he doesn't. But if he had, but he doesn't have. Because I always tell Kobe, what I say, what you don't see a lot of movement on in NILs. I mean, in transfer portals, what you don't see in the transfer portal, Kobe,
Lineman.
linemen. So until he figure out a way to get those kids there and and raise them up himself, it's gonna always be a deficit there.
Yeah, I mean,
And we know
I
what
agree
Travis
with
Hunter and
everything.
Shador. We know what Travis
I
Hunter
agree
and
with everything.
Shador
So.
is.
Yeah,
But
very much.
I'm gonna say this: the biggest thing that happened in Colorado last year was Travis Hunter started running out of gas. He wasn't, I mean, not getting tired or whatever, but his body started breaking down. And as far as him being a top 5 pick, that's a lot of miles that kid got on him. And we like to say, well, you got to let the kid be the kid and let him play and play. But it's been shown.
You better make
Kids
him
with a
feel
lot of
position.
miles on them, they get to the league and they have flashes, but then you wonder what happens is they burn out faster. So I don't know.
Make him
Yeah.
take a position. There you go.
Yeah, Brooks, you was in there. You about to say something there about the matchup?
I mean, it was clear. Shadur Sanders, Travis Hunter, this kid Jimmy Horn Jr.
Oh yeah, he was
Those were the
good too.
differences in the game. Those were the differences in the game. Colorado had those elite skill guys, and North Dakota State couldn't keep up. But I mean, North Dakota State, they they ran they moved the ball and scored points on Colorado. I mean, that's a good program. So I don't want to overreact about an FCS and FBS program, because I think that you're talking about an upper echelon FCS program, and they hung with Colorado.
But that proves one of my other points. That's an
No,
upper
I mean,
echelon
yeah.
SBS team, and still Colorado still managed the way to beat them. Right?
If you
And
want,
we all agree that Colorado's barely a mid-tier big boy team. Barely, maybe.
You got to build, if you want a long-lasting program, if you want a program that's going to have sustained success, you got to build from your offense, from your lines of scrimmage outward. You got to put depth there. You got to put size there. And like I said, Colorado, if they play anybody of high caliber who has that advantage in the trenches, they're just gonna, they're gonna get exposed. So,
who are we considering a big boy team, Calvin?
Huh?
Who are we considering a mid big boy team?
Colorado.
No, I'm saying, like, who are you surrounding Colorado with to say
I'm being a little bit. I'm giving them more than my heart tells me they are. But I would say mid tier would be, because really the second tier now is Ole Miss, those pop-up teams, Tennessee, USC.
we're calling that second tier, not mid tier, right?
Mid. I mean, well, it's all.
Because Ole Miss is ranked number 6, like. So what?
Well,
but I'm talking
let's
about.
say
I'm talking about
somewhere around 30 to 45.
I'm not looking at ranking. I'm looking at the historical programs, say going back the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh, you're showing your age. Okay, got you.
So what I'm saying is, every time, I mean, there's always going to be that one-off year that these teams have. Eventually those teams will have a year that a TCU makes it to the national champion. There's always that one team that gets you. So what I'm talking about is a team that you like. Texas, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia now. Who else can we put in that category?
We're calling
Oregon.
the top of the line
I'm
guys.
talking about the guys that we expect to be one of those top
This
5 teams bidding for the national championship. Those are the first tier,
Okay,
and
okay, got
then
you, got you. So we're so
this
we're
time
calling
then
we're calling
this
Colorado like tier 3, tier 4.
this team
one
Yes.
of those
reminds me
teams.
of a South Carolina. You know,
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, those teams that
That'll be
like
a
like
great
jump
they
that
have
matchup.
jump.
Yeah,
some good
they're
skill
a mid team.
players.
They're
What's up, Nard?
what's up, Nard? Yeah, they're a mid team. There, if we're going off of that, then yeah, they're a mid team. I
Right.
thought
Yeah,
we
they're
were
very mid. They're very mid in my opinion, and
Borderline,
I
borderline mid,
mean, yeah,
borderline.
like I'm saying on the low end of mid, and I mean, just think about this. I mean, we gotta still put it in perspective. They played a FCS team. I know they're an elite FCS team program, but it's still a FCS program. And
But
for
the
for them to play Colorado tooth and nail, you know what I'm saying? Like I think if they played a Georgia or an Alabama, at Alabama or at Georgia, it would be a tooth and nail matchup. It might be a good first quarter, but then attrition's gonna kick in, and because North Dakota State, like the quarterback went 18 for 22, almost 300 yards passing. The running game total 157 yards rushing the ball from an FCS
that's
program against an FBS program. Like the
yeah.
only difference was the outside players. If this was 7-on-7, Colorado probably win by 100, but it's not a 7-on-7 game, and I think
Hmm.
that just shows the elite players that Colorado have at the receiving position, at the quarterback position, but then rushing the ball, there was just there was no signs of life when it comes to rushing the football, and these are the type of formulas that this is the type of thing that was happening last season, but there was 1, 2, 3 victories in a row to kick off the season, so it was kind of overlooked. But I think it's the same story from last season. You know what I'm saying? It's just another year, in my opinion.
On a flip note, me and Kobe had this conversation one day. Was it last week, Kobe? When I said I think the FBS teams are
Hmm.
going to it's college basketball and college football is starting to be like you have the mid majors that
Yeah.
have these teams that have 3 or 4 year starters or 3 or 4 teams. They have players that are in their programs that are sustained in their program. And what happens is when you have a team that's not quite that's built quickly, or a team that has a lot of movement in the middle of them, I expect some of these FBS teams to make these upsets or give them run for the money, just for the fact that when you playing these quote lower divisional teams that are experienced, that makes a difference in that makes a big difference than you playing Colorado, where the average player on that team may have been in the program a year and a half to 2 years at the most.
I kind of feel that way if you're talking about, like, for example, let's say the year Duke, may have lost to Mercer in basketball, where
Mm,
Mercer had a lot of veterans on the team, and Duke had a sensational freshman. I think it was Jabari Parker at that time. But they had like that, all those one and dones were gone, and now they're restarting, like something
exactly.
along those lines. Yeah, but with Colorado, but I would even say this though in football, what I'm saying, it still should be a difference in the size across the board. It just amazed me that they was able to run for that many yards on Colorado. I just don't see them doing that against a playoff
But
caliber FBS team.
agree. That's why I say you'll see those teams pop up and beat the mid tier
Hmm.
teams from time to time.
Yeah,
But it breaks down to the fact that there is a big difference between 70 scholarships and 90 scholarships, and the funding behind the bigger teams. It
right.
just shows at the end of the day. It was just something. It proved a point that I told Kobe about before that game even went down, that the FBS teams are basically starting to remind me of the what we call mid majors popping up here and there,
Yep.
being competitive, and then pushing some of the, but the March
Yeah.
Madness effect, one
Yep.
and done type deal.
All right. And before we move on from Colorado, Travis Hunter's name has come up in the Heisman conversation. We I think we all agree that he'll get drafted. He'll get drafted pretty high. It's all up to you where you think he may fall. But Do you think he has a legit chance to win the Heisman? And again, I want to put the stat up here about all these snaps that he's taking. And will that be an effect as well? Like, will it help him or hurt him? Taking all these snaps per game. Corey, I think you hinted towards injury, and he hasn't had an injury history because even at Jackson State he missed time due to injury. Deion was very cautious of using him there, and then he missed time last season. So, guys, do you think that Hunter is a legitimate Heisman candidate?
Yes.
He's a legitimate third or fourth vote because I mean, unless
Name three people as a week one you've seen is above Travis Hunter. Come on, Cal. Be real with yourself.
I'm being realistic about the
It's not-
fact that I'm being
I
realistic
don't know.
about the fact that if you're not a quarterback, right?
Mhm.
Come on.
In order for you to win the Heisman, it's going to take a lot of piss poor quarterback play across the country for you to be number one. And also,
He's doing
you got to
stuff
remember. Hold
at a
on.
hard position that relies on quarterback to get him the ball and make plays on defense. And you're telling me
Also remember
that you've seen week one better than Travis Hunter.
I ain't say that. But what I'm saying is over the course of a season, we're gonna have most of the time you're gonna have a quarterback that separate itself, normally 2 or 3. But also Travis Hunter got the issue of one of those quarterbacks that are in the running is the one that's throwing him the ball. So half the time, so hold on. So if
it's not Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, or Shador, in a conversation right there.
But remember, what makes a defensive player makes a non quote quarterback because I don't care how good you are on defense, you just can't do it alone. You got to have returns for kicks. You got to have some time on off. You got to have other spectacular moments. Is the person that's going to be getting the ball is also a Heisman candidate. So you got to remember his vote is split between 2 players on his team.
Okay, and that also goes into conversation, and this is what's going to hurt Shador. Is Travis Hunter receiving yards have over Shador passing yards? Ooh, you got quiet.
Which one come first, chicken or the egg?
Because I'm going to say we're talking about Travis and Shador, but we forget about Mr. Horn that had 198 receiving. Okay,
I'm sorry.
He had 7 catches as well. Yeah.
There's no shade to Mr. Jimmy Horn. The man played phenomenal, but it's more policy instead of going to it. I think Jimmy Horn got the conversation.
Is he related to Jimmy Horn? By chance?
You know what? I don't. We'll fact check that.
I thought so. I was just talking out loud.
I haven't heard that yet. But we can check into that
too. Because his name is Jim Horn Jr. I thought about that too. Yeah. Anyway,
Joe Horn. I mean, we'll have to check that out. But I remember Horn. Wasn't Horn the one that used to put the cell phone in the goal post after he scored a touchdown? Yeah. Okay. But we'll look that up. But again, back to Hunter. Now, I guess we need to spice this just a little bit. Heisman Trophy candidate, and then also can he win it? So, because I think it's kind of a 2-part there. Because sometimes it's good, it's a win just to be sitting there at the ceremony. So I guess you guys were saying that maybe a split there with him and Shador. Then you have other quarterbacks. So does wins and losses factor in this too?
Jimmy Horn is not related
since
to
2000.
Thank you, there, Cole. Oh, I'm sorry. So somebody was trying to say something there, but is he a legitimate candidate, or can he win it? Because again,
he's a legitimate candidate. I mean, you can't. The talent, the talent is the talent, but it's because they're going to recognize the talent, but it's going back to win the Heisman.
It's a moot point talking about the Heisman with anybody on Colorado because they're not going to have a good record. And the Heisman historically rewards good players on good teams.
And winning. Yeah.
So I mean could he make the podium? Could he be in the conversation? Sure, but he's not going to. Nobody in Colorado is going to win it, despite if they may deserve it. I mean, but
I'm ready to argue. I'm ready to win a 1v2. Mr. 4-1, are you a part of that also?
I'm a part of Travis not winning the Heisman.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a part of that. Yeah.
Okay, time for me to win a 1v3. What's up, Nard?
What's
All right,
up? What's
guys.
up?
And we're going to talk about Travis Hunter not winning the Heisman, and we bringing in the record and winning. Jaden Daniels, was he in playoff conversation last year?
No.
Caleb Williams, the year before that, was he?
No.
Now,
I mean,
so when we gonna start bringing women into this? As long as they do what they got to do numbers wise, he's gonna be perfectly fine. Cause guess what? Like Kevin also said, you're gonna be in a conversation, and we're not sure Colorado gonna have a game, but they out here catching 7 catches and over 100 yards, throwing over 300 yards. Jay Daniels did the same thing, but now we got to bring winning into it because it's Colorado. Like I said, your name is not Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck. Right now, them are the top 4 candidates.
those teams were average, though. You can't say those teams were bad. They were average.
Yeah.
This Colorado team's going to be bad.
Colorado goes out there and compete against average.
Brooke, I got him one thing. Brooke.
All right, we hear you.
Brooke,
Well,
Kobe, what positions did the aforementioned 2 players you just
Right.
mentioned won?
Okay, they play quarterback, but we're still
Yes.
Kobe,
That's-
understand. If you are a non-quarterback, especially a defensive player, in my opinion, because this is the only opinion I have. If you're going to win the Heisman, your team better be, especially if you're a non-quarterback, your team better be pushing for the belt.
If Ndamukong Suh didn't win the Heisman as the most dominant defensive lineman in the nation for a season, then no defensive player.
The only reason Charles Woodson won it was because
of 2024.
Well, hold on. I couldn't hear you. But go ahead.
Only reason Charles Woodson won it was because they was a national championship contender and eventually winner.
And Kobe, what's your rebuttal to that?
Tyreek Hill was the #1 player of the 2024 NFL season, and he's a wide receiver. You tell me Travis Hunter can win a Heisman?
I mean, Devonta Smith won a Heisman. I mean, a wide receiver can win the Heisman.
That was my next point.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I mean, historically they can, but I'm just saying Colorado's going to be so bad. They're just. I think that takes them out.
You know what? I say, fellas, we put a pin in this until mid-October. How about that? We put it.
Well. Let's summarize some of this conversation. Then is that I think we all agree that Hunter can have an opportunity, but I think some of the differences is he plays a position that doesn't usually get that, and then he's playing both ways. So is he, unless he's going to play 100-something snaps every week for the next 10 weeks, I mean, he might not even be around to even be considered. He may miss too many games. I mean, a lot of things may happen there because of that overload. And then if you're not winning, if the team is not winning, that is so many different variables in this for Hunter. Is your team going to win? Is he a quarterback? Like, if you're a great quarterback, like if Shador throws up all those numbers, maybe he has a better chance than Hunter to get in without the wins and losses as a team.
Then I'm going to ask, are you the best player? I'm going to ask one more question. Do we think he's the best player at his position, or he's one of the top 2 to 3 players in both his positions?
Both his positions, because when I look at Travis Hunter,
whoa! I know. Listen. You say both his positions. Is he the top player or one of the top 3? Is he the top receiver you think in the league in college football? And do you think he's the top corner in college or defensive back in college football?
I think he's the top receiver in college football.
Me too.
Oh God.
Okay, so Nard and Cole believe that Travis Hunter is the best wide receiver in college football.
We're gonna find out if these old men are right.
Hold on. And these young boys are right. As of right now, who are you putting above him?
I'm just asking a question. I don't really count these. Y'all know how I feel about these first few weeks.
Well, that's the thing.
If we're basing it off of week 1, he is the top receiver.
Why?
Did you not see the game he had? What you mean? Why?
I saw the game. I saw the game, but
who was it against?
I saw some other absurd stats this first week.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, it was again. It was.
He played
It,
better
was-
competition. I still think he was. Travis Hunter is Travis Hunter. It's Colorado that's not no good. I don't care who you want to get Travis Hunter. I think he'll make the play.
he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but even let's just put it this way: when he was at Jackson State, were we saying he was the best receiver in the nation?
Politics.
He's definitely
So,
up there.
I mean, he's arguably the best player in the world. I mean, college football world. I mean, there's no
there's a
question about
kid.
that.
There,
But there's a difference in being the best player and winning the Heisman. But there's a difference.
In college football, we're not going to say he's the top receiver in his position. I'm not saying that. I think it's a great chance that he's going to win the Heisman. But for us to sit here and say no, like automatically, I think we can't do that. To solidify no.
there's a
Go
receiver
ahead, Brooke.
from Missouri. There's a receiver from Missouri, Luther Burden the third. I think he's one of the top receivers in the nation.
I think
I think Travis Hunter's probably.
Also.
We'll see if Colorado can have an average to above average season, and that could definitely put him in the Heisman. I'm just thinking, I don't think that's going to happen for all the reasons we've talked about. That just prohibits kind of Colorado from competing at that next level as far as their lines of scrimmage. So I just don't think they're having a good season. Therefore, I think that hurts their Heisman chances. That's nothing to do with it. He's a Cal. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the difference. There's a difference in saying who's the best player, and then we're talking about this award. Like Caitlin Clark is the rookie of the year.
All right, let me put it to you like this, Kobe. If we want to go by his stats for the first week, right? You do know that I just pulled it up. He is actually ranked 21 as far as his wide receiver stats. So that's why I say you really can't go by week one, because if we believe that, T. McMillan in Arizona is quote unquote the best receiver in the game because he had 300 yards and 10 receptions. You see my point? So, like I said, don't go off of what I saw the other day.
Well,
we're gonna all agree. I think me and Brooke both would agree that he is a generational talent, right? Agreed, Brooks? We're not denying.
I think we all agree to that. Yeah.
I mean, talking about the caliber of player he is and talking about his Heisman chances are just two different conversations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, like I said, let's put a pin on this to October, and then when he's over somewhere in the top two conversations, just make sure I'm front and ready for this conversation.
Wait, it's on record.
He may get invited. He may be in the, he may be at the, he may get invited to the ceremony.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a different.
He's going to get invited.
That's open. I just don't think he's going to win. I mean,
yeah, he's going to get invited. He's too good not to be invited. Barring him being healthy enough to put up enough numbers throughout the season. That's what we got to see. Because he's still slight. He's still slight a build. And if he's going to play at this rate against as he get into that conference schedule, that's asking a lot on the body as far as playing football, especially at that division that he's playing at. We got to talk about another team, and that's the Florida Gators, or should we talk about the Miami Hurricanes killing the Gators? And before we do that, look at the schedule. Florida has a tough schedule, and they already have fallen to Miami. And you see there's some other teams on the schedule. It looks kind of brutal there for them. But man, they fall hard to the Hurricanes, gentlemen. Nard, are you still there with us?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nard, give us your initial take on this game, then we're gonna pass it all the way around to everybody.
All right, yes, sir. So my take on this game is that the Hurricanes ran the Gators off the field. Offense was good. Defense was good. Well, to me, in personal, the Miami Hurricanes play like a ranked team. The offense, the defense was good. They put up 40 points. The Gators in the first half, it was a good game. But then in the second half, it was all Hurricanes.
Well, that pretty much sums it up there. I mean, they got handled. And the Swamp too. So what do you got there, Brooks? I mean, that's one of your rival teams.
I I had no idea how Miami was only favored by 2 points. This is a floundering Florida program that's going to take it.
Florida team.
This team is going to get manhandled with that schedule, and Billy Napier is going to get fired. I mean, I said that. I said that in another show. Like, he has no chance of surviving this season. This team is abysmal. You know, they are falling down to the bottom cellar of the SEC. This Graham Mertz kid only threw for 91 yards, while Miami's got that transfer from Washington State, Cam Ward, and man, he got the sidearm release. He was impressive. That's and you look at how the ACC went this first couple weeks. You know, with teams like Clemson and Florida State losing, you look at this Miami team. They look like to be the front runners. But yeah, this Florida team, they're pathetic. You know, they're bad. And Billy Napier is probably not going to survive this season. You look at that schedule; it's going to be a long season for them.
Florida is going back to what Florida traditionally was without Spurrier, and that run with what's his face? Is it Florida? And it's almost looking like they may be the third best team in the state of Florida. And that's because I'm not adding the directional schools in it because we won't know them because they don't all play each other.
Yeah.
But if we go with but we're pretty sure Miami's going to play Florida State. Florida State's going to play Florida. So and I got a feeling that it's going to be 2-0 to 1-1 and 0-1 and 0-2 when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and then technically you still have FAMU too in Florida, who won the national championship last season, winning the Celebration Bowl. So you might have to go ahead. You might have to go ahead and throw them in there too.
No, because Tyrone. Let's not start that discussion. Because
you have to throw them in there. They won a national championship. Is my point.
There's a different discussion. Are they the best SBS team in Florida? Probably. But do you really think that FAMU's in a position to beat Florida State and Miami in Florida? Honest opinion.
Core, I was being facetious.
Okay. All right.
I was throwing a little salt into the wound there.
I got you.
But yeah, man, Florida Gators, guys. I mean, this is man. I'm going back to the day I remember watching these guys with Spurrier on them, man. To see this now, man, what a fall from grace here, gentlemen. Is there any signs of bouncing back anytime soon?
They can't recruit. Is it?
Shout out to Cam McCormick. It's his 9th year of eligibility, and he scored a touchdown for Miami.
He did score. He scored. He sure did.
Touchdown was, I think it was 2017.
He started with Oregon and Justin Herbert. Like, my man's been around.
Hey man, so. He's definitely getting his time's worth. You know what I'm saying, to play the sport he loves. So there you have it there. All right, guys. So man, Miami doing damage there. Are they the best team in the ACC, Joe? At this point, I know it's early.
Yeah, they look to be.
Yeah, I guess.
Yes.
You look at them, I guess.
I think they got the best quarterback in the ACC.
Agreed.
Right.
That's something. Ward is the best quarterback in the ACC.
That's something.
All right, so we keep our eye on Cam Ward. He said Cam Ward's the best quarterback. Oh, say it again, Cole.
Oh, yeah.
Cole, you said something there?
I was just saying I think Cam Ward the best quarterback. I agree with Mr. Brooks.
Yeah.
Nah, Miami is the best team.
But I will put a pin in it that say from the 2 games we watched Georgia Tech play, I think they're gamed.
I was gonna say something, but I didn't feel like getting attacked this morning. I'm already not sure I wanted to say something about Georgia Tech. I just want.
Wait, don't worry. You gonna have a moment too here in just a second, because we're gonna bring up the Georgia State game. I know that's near and dear to you there. And you can tell everybody why in just a minute. Are we done with Miami now? Are we done with Miami and Florida?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're done with the big
matchups,
and then I guess we can do the what we think of the Texas is the Ohio States and Alabama's beating on kids at a park. I mean,
Well,
Ole
I just gave the
Miss.
summary. I just threw the scores out on those, Coy, because they were all massacres. But yeah, here in Atlanta, uh, the Battle of Atlanta, man, the first time ever that these two programs have played each other, and there's reasons behind that. Yeah, Georgia State, you got to look at the history of their football
It's a
program
young,
and
it's a
level,
young, it's
divisions,
a young
yeah,
program.
and all that. Yeah. So, but Dale McGee, who Calvin, Coy, and I are familiar with, the head coach at Georgia State. Congratulations to him. Brooks, I know you're familiar with him as well because he was coaching at the University of Georgia for a while,
Hmm.
for several years, and also he had a bowl victory as a head coach at Georgia Southern, so for
Hmm.
some years ago. But man, it's 35-12, Georgia Tech. So Cole, kick us off with this one, man, because we know you're a student there at Georgia State.
Yeah, for y'all that don't know, I am a sophomore sports administration major at Georgia State University. But about the game, let me start by just saying great atmosphere, great game, great student session, great fans, man. It was just overall a great experience. Um, get into the actual football side of it. Congratulations to Dale McGee for getting this far, Columbus boy, from what I know, for Mr. 4-1 and Calvin. But the side of the game, Georgia State did better than a lot of students expected. Georgia Tech beat number 10 ranked team in the nation. So going into this game, a lot of students expected us to get our butt whooped. Rightfully so. You gotta be realistic. Student pride or not, you gotta be realistic when you're going against a ranked team in the ACC. I'm sorry, a team in the ACC that just beat a ranked team. So, but to go out there, you still lost, but be 35-12 to that type of team is a good sign for Georgia State. Is a good sign. I think it should be, it's not a win, but a little bit of boost for the players and for the confidence of Coach Mr. Del McGee, because you didn't go out there and get your butt handed to you.
They didn't
Hmm.
lay down, and that first quarter they gave Georgia Tech everything and
Everything.
some extra.
Hey, the first quarter we got there fourth and goal. We was
Yeah.
right there. We just had a couple mistakes that can be fixed.
Right.
But when we go
Yeah,
to our
there
division
was some
against
mistakes.
Marshall and teams of that Georgia Southern teams in that division in the Sun Belt, we can't compete. Dude, a lot of people think we're gonna go in there and beat Georgia Tech. No, but you competed against Georgia Tech, and that's the most you can ask for with a team like that. So I was okay with how the way Georgia State played.
I'm looking at if given the time, and Brooks can admit can co-sign or disagree with this. The way that Mr. McGee recruits, there's gonna be some players that's gonna come through that program, and there's gonna be some players that come to that program that's gonna make some people upset that they at that program and not at their school.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
Yeah. That's fair to say because McGee, Dale was, man, he brought a lot of players to UGA.
let's
He
Brooks,
was he was
my
rated.
my my mistaken.
That's
Brooks, if I'm not mistaken,
there's
he was
some good
considered the
UGA
number one recruiter in the.
lineage.
He was
I was
the
gonna say
number
there's
one
some good.
recruiter in the state, in the country at one point.
Yeah, he was one of.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's so well regarded. I was gonna say UGA lineage there at Georgia State because that one of the Hayes brothers is the head basketball coach. So I think it's Jarvis.
Oh yeah, Jarvis Hayes.
And
Yeah,
for all
because
we
he
know,
played it.
he could
Yeah,
be
Yeah.
waiting. He can
yeah.
wait.
So they
He could be sitting there getting his resume. I tend to think he's getting his resume right for when Freeze get fired again, and he gonna go home, and he's gonna go home to Auburn. That's what I think. But anyway, we keep it moving.
Okay, well, he was defensive back at Auburn. Also played in the
Yes, he
XFL.
was.
Also was on the Detroit Lions roster. Dale McGee. He was also the
Phoenix.
running back
He also
for
was
our high school team.
he was a, yeah. He was also on the rostered Phoenix, Arizona
Yep, that's
Cardinals.
right.
So yeah.
Yep, yeah. And again, with his recruiting and his stronghold in the state of Georgia, connections, and then he's coaching Division 1 level. I mean, yeah, it's a matter of time. It's not if, it's just when. Uh, they bring home some championships there, to Georgia State. But Brooks, you were just saying something. I didn't know if you finished there, but you was talking about McGee and his time at Georgia.
Nope, I'm good. I was just going to mention that they got another former Georgia, connection with Jarvis Hayes in the basketball program. So
Absolutely. No, do you have anything on the matchup? Georgia State and Georgia Tech.
No, sir, but all I gotta say is Georgia Tech is 2-0 this season. Played a really great game against Georgia Southern, I believe.
Georgia State. Yep.
Georgia State. My bad. So they're 2-0 this season.
State not Southern, buddy.
Oh, my fault. But Tech is 2-0 this season. I am surprised. The coaching, the quarterback, the offense, the defense. Them boys are coming ready to play every weekend.
Yep, we're gonna definitely keep an eye on Georgia Tech and see if they can keep this momentum going. See what they can do in the ACC. And Georgia State, I think they're gonna have they're gonna fight all season as well. Yeah.
One thing about Tech, I do want to see their pass game get a little more going against higher teams. I think the run game was very much effective against Florida State, and the pass game very much effective against against Florida State. Pass game was effective against Georgia State. So I want to see, can they balance that out when they go against higher level teams and they try to update stuff to get themselves into the rankings. And for Georgia State, that run game looked beautiful. I just gotta say that. That first quarter, second quarter run game was looking beautiful.
All right. Definitely looking better than the Florida Gators. All right, gentlemen. Corey, before we get out of here, you had something you want to say about the top tier teams, the Ohio States and all of them that had those major blowouts this week? It was something you wanted to mention.
No, we don't know nothing about them. We just know they just went to the park and kicked on some kids.
Well,
all
right.
Ohio State should be one. Georgia can fall under Ohio State somewhere. No offense, Mr. Brooks.
Brooks, what do you have to say about that?
Look, Ohio State needs to worry about beating Michigan finally, and then we can talk. That's all I got.
Exactly. I got a question. I haven't looked at the schedule.
Last head-to-head matchup, we beat them, and they got beat by Missouri last year. I mean, they need to. Historically, they have just not shown up for the big games, and gotten those like season-defining W's. So they need to do that. They need to focus on that. The talent's there, obviously.
Hey, watch out list.
The talent's there, but the discipline.
On our watch out list.
All right, who you watching out for?
I'm curious to know who's on those Ole Miss schedule. I know they play Alabama, and who do they come across? Well, I guess it's not come across anymore. But is Georgia on Ole Miss schedule this year?
Oh, we can find it out for you, buddy.
Yeah, we play.
Yeah, they played them November 9th.
All right, so we'll figure that out then. If Ole Miss can manage to survive till then, we'll figure that out.
Till then, if Ole Miss can survive Penn State and LSU.
That too.
Man, Ole Miss got a little gauntlet there.
Hold on, I think
we'll see what LSU's about tonight. We'll see what LSU's about tonight.
All right. Okay. And that we can end it with that. What do you think about LSU tonight? I mean, what are your expectations?
Well, you don't have it. I mean,
interesting. These are two teams. Yeah, I think these are two teams who fired their defensive coordinators last season. LSU, especially, it was weird to see an LSU team that was so porous on defense last season.
Yeah,
it was a shame because their offense was great. So both teams are coming in with new defense coordinators. USC was just phenomenally bad on defense last year. Lincoln Riley's going to put up points with his offenses, but can these two teams play defense? That's what I'm looking at. Both teams are going to have talented offenses. We'll see. Both got new quarterbacks, so we'll see how they perform. But I'm looking, these teams got to, if they want to jump to that upper level, they're going to have to play defense. And like I said, let's see if these new defense coordinators can get them right on that side of the ball.
On the side note, we had a Manning sighting.
I was just gonna bring it up. Arch, 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Arch Manning, 2
You are
touchdowns.
correct.
Yep. I said we give that about another year. He'll be starting once Quinn Ewers leaves, and he's gonna be a problem.
I think we're gonna have a situation where we have a Major Appleton and what was the Sims kid issue?
Major.
I think that's where we're headed toward in Texas. Remember AJ Applewhite and the Sims kid. What was the Sims kid name?
There's a lot of them.
What was his? No, his son. What was his name?
Chris.
They basically Chris Sims. Yeah. They basically jobbed.
Sims.
They basically jobbed that guy too because Mr. Phil Sims basically was like, my son should be starting, and believe it or not, Applewhite probably would have had another national championship if they left Applewhite as their quarterback back then.
Oh yeah. All right, guys. I had dropped out of there for a second, but you're talking about Chris Sims, I believe, at that time. But yeah, man. So I mean, that's all we have for today. We'll get back together again next week for week 2, and we'll review what happened. We'll preview some games and review some games. But man, it's gonna be right up on the NFL season as well. So make sure you check us out Tuesday with the NFL preview. It's gonna be Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. I believe that's what it is. But yeah, it's out there on the network. So make sure you tune in for that. You'll get to hear what Cole from the Low has to say about his Steelers, um, and Nard about his Falcons, and Mr. 41 about his Seahawks, and so on and so forth. Brooks is Falcons, and we'll pretty much preview what we think about that. Also, check out the Fun Walk, 401 Sports World Fun Walk. You can go to 401sportsworld.org. If you can attend, please do. You place your order online, your pre-order, you'll get your T-shirt. If you can attend, you also can pre-order a shirt to support the event. So it's going to be an autism awareness walk. It will be held September 14th.
Mr. Brooks, is there gonna be any best damn dogs this year?
Yeah, we're gonna jump in. We're gonna have shows every now and then. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Now, in fact, we have an episode that's out there right now on 401 Sports World Network. It's the preview. You can check that out. But yeah, Brooks, he's a busy man, but we're gonna coordinate our schedules there to have that, because I know there's some Bama fans that want to join in from time to time.
Or the big elevator.
Hey, and also, guys, make sure you check out Nard on the Nard Report. Check him out as well on YouTube. He's on all social media platforms. I've seen him on TikTok. I've seen him on Instagram as well. So if you go to the Nard Report, that's TAGNARD, and then report. Check out Nard. He does great work. He has some great content. We already mentioned Cole from the Low earlier, so check those young men out. They're doing great work, and we love to collab and work together on a lot of things. So check us all out.
Hey, and Nard got an episode coming out tomorrow, 7:30.
Nard, when you come around here, you got to jump in, brother. Don't be shy.
Yep.
I ain't shy.
Oh, there we go. There you go. So next week we're gonna hear more from Nard. All right, but again, check us out Tuesday as well, because that NFL preview should be very interesting. Because I'm curious about what these Steelers are going to look like, and I can't wait to Tuesday to hear about the quarterbacks situation there.
First week, Atlanta Falcons coming. Ready for that Justin Fields package?
Oh man, you hear that? You hear that, Brooks?
Oh my God!
Look, Brooks, you from my generation? What do they say when you got 2 quarterbacks?
You win.
You don't have any.
Exactly.
Look. Starting Russell Wilson, I'm happy. I definitely want him to start. He's your guy. You should play him.
Hey, everybody that Achilles.
You should play Russell Wilson.
Everybody that Achilles.
All right, we're gonna check it out. All right, gentlemen. So for Coy, for Cole, for Nard, for Brooks, I'm Mr. 41. We thank everybody. We'll catch you next week for Triple Option. We out.
this year.